Hey Umang, good morning. Thank you so much for accepting my invite and really appreciate you for being part of my project. Can you please give us some knowledge on H1B owning a business?
Certainly. And first of all, I appreciate you, welcoming me into this one. This is a great initiative, Bobby, and I really look forward to, being part of this, helping our fellow H1B holders, in any questions that they may have, be it regarding accounting or, we have a team that can support them in the financial services or legal areas too. So I truly appreciate you calling me here. Certainly. So you want me to respond to you on H1B owning a business. Now, H1Bs can certainly own a business. There is no roadblock of not owning a business. This is a capitalist nation. Ideas are welcome. New things are always welcome here. So they can certainly own a business. The challenge that really comes to them is basically being a general partner or a general member into the LLC or the company that they form, which means their immigration status truly stops them from working somewhere else or being an operating person somewhere else. And again, this is an immigration related thing, and I would not want to expand more on that because they may want to consult their immigration attorney on that. From the tax perspective, what they can possibly do is be an investor, bring an idea, be a limited partner or a limited member into the LLC, have an operating person who can run the business for them, as far as while they are on the visa. That would basically allow them to still do a business or be part of the business, just not actively run and operate it. No ideas have to be in a shutdown just because they are on H1B. So you just have to find an operating person who can be in general or an active partner into the business, and that's what would allow them to actually get the business going for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. That definitely clears some of the clouds that we have. Can we do it? Can we not do it? Should we pursue this or not? Really appreciate answering that. And how about H1B owning a home?
Certainly, a home is a place to stay, and there's absolutely no stoppage of any visa holder or an H1B holder to own a home. However, there are certain areas like insurance and mortgages where they would require some paperwork to be done, and a mortgage officer can kind of assist that with them. But there's certainly no place where they cannot own a home in the United States just because they are on H1B, as long as they qualify for the mortgage, as long as they have their income. The challenge happens is if your visa does not get renewed, then what happens, right? I mean, if you have to return back, then you are in a stress where you have to sell the house. That is where we see challenges. Apart from that, they can own the home. Even if they return back, they can continue renting that home and have a rental income in the United States while they are in India or anywhere else abroad. So there is absolutely no restrictions of owning a home or an investment property to that effect.
Awesome. Thanks, Umang. To that point, right? Should they sell the home if anything has to happen with their visa? Can they not own it?
Like if the visa does not get renewed or the green card doesn't happen in a situation like that, you say? No, they don't have to. I mean, they don't have to do a distress sale, or they don't have to, sell it within a month or two and get shortchanged the dollar if they can continue owning a home. They can certainly put it on a rental market. They can be in India and have an investment property over here and have a rental income generated. Of course, you would need a property management company to manage it while you are away. But apart from that, there is no forced sale that they have to do. The rental income has to be reported on US tax return. They just have to continue filing their US tax return while they are in abroad.
Nice, because this answers so many concerns. Some of our friends who's faced renew their visas were not renewed recently. Basically, they had to put it on Zillow, and then I hear some of the scary stories where they had to go through some 30% losses because of the quick sale or something like that. So definitely, this will be helpful for so many people. The other thing I'd like your input on is H1B tax implications and H1B green card processing. How does that affect owning a business or owning a home impact the taxes and green card processing?
Owning a business and owning a home would actually can assist you in your taxes. But one of the things that H1Bs have to be very well aware of is taxes is mandatory as far as green card processing goes. You cannot not file your taxes and go through green card processing. And again, an immigration attorney can answer that better. But taxes is something that every H1B has to take seriously, file it every year. It is one of the mandatory requirements for every individual, including citizens of United States. It's our duty to basically file taxes. As far as owning a business, what would happen is if they're a limited member or a limited partner in the LLC, they would get a K1, which is a statement of profit or losses from the business. as a passive income holder, that K1 has to be included into their personal tax return, which is the 1040 that they would be filing. The good news is, if there is a profit, because they are a passive member or a limited member into the LLC, they would only be subject to federal taxes and state taxes. There is no Social Security or Medicare, which is commonly called as self-employment tax, that they have to pay because they are not an active member. The person who is an operating person into the company, who you have basically gotten to run the company, would be the one who would be paying that self-employment tax. So that is good news for them. As far as owning a home, until 2017, before the Tax Cuts and Job Act was brought in by President Trump, home mortgage interest deduction was a very, very big beneficial factor on a Schedule A and itemized deductions. But from 2018, after which the standard deduction amounts were raised to 24,000, that has become kind of a moot point in a lot of cases. Your mortgage interest is really high. So they can weigh their options and, whether they want to, kind of pursue a home because of taxes. My personal suggestion is you need a home to stay. You don't need a home for taxes.
True. Very true. Definitely. Thank you so much. And do you have any ideas or suggestions for H1B investing? What is a couple of ideas that we can give our friends? Okay, this is definitely something that you can invest if you have some income that's sitting around.
Certainly. Now, a lot of times, when I meet with a visa holder, an H1B visa holder, they are kind of restricting their investment, saying, I don't know whether my green card would happen. I don't know if my visa would renew. I may have to return back. And they're holding this money into the bank account. And we all know, what the interest rates in the bank account are, 1% or even lesser. Yes. So they are actually losing on a lot of potential to gain by investing into alternate ways. And when I say alternate ways, they can possibly look into real estate, being a passive investment. They can look into investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. So there is no restrictions in those investments either. You can also invest into commodities, into any kind of, forex market. So there are alternate investments that they can pursue, which are all passive in nature. Does not necessarily have to be a business, but you can always deploy your money or your capital to, increase your growth rate. One of the key things that I do want to tell all the H1B visa holder, what I've been clearly noticing is lack of knowledge on financials. They kind of have the money, but they don't see a financial professional to see how they can diversify and grow their money.
Absolutely, yes.
The other thing, what I've also noticed is lack of knowledge on life insurance. H1B visa holder in most of the cases is the only breadwinner or the bread earner, in their family. And God forbid if something were to happen, and we have recently seen a lot of cases happening in Canada of young demises, the family is left in a lurch. They are on H4 temporary visa, have to return back, and truly no source of income or no savings. So I think they should be contacting their financial professionals and going from there.
Okay, so you're definitely suggesting talk to your financial planner, not from diversifying your portfolio, but because the overall scenario based, because you might leave the country, something could happen. So insurance also comes into big picture here. Okay, definitely. And one more thing. So incorporating a business, right? From the first day when we incorporate a business with a new business idea, the partner, as you mentioned, could you please give more details about, okay, how much ownership should you have, or what defines a passive here? Let's say it's a new business idea, it might need some hands-on, but what is active and passive? How is it defined by hours, or is it defined by day-to-day basis?
Well, truly it is defined by two things basically: how much effort you put in, and how much money you bring into the table. Now, of course, there is also a third component, which is the idea. So it depends on who brings in the idea. That person wants to control a larger percentage of the partnership. But say for instance, if A person is bringing in money, while B person is going to operate that entire business, and they come up with the idea of having 50%, fair. That 50% is an active person and 50% is your passive investor. It all depends, between the arrangements that the two person can have. IRS truly does not have any restrictions as far as the operating agreements between the operating partner and the passive investor